Welcome back, guys, to a brand new video. Now today we have a massive video because there is an interview here with Studio Wildcard, and as you can see, ARK developer breaks down Unreal Engine upgrades and the in-game world creator, and I think there's even more within this interview. There are some really interesting responses from Jeremy, the CEO, as well, which we're going to be reading through in here. And obviously, I know Wildcard are doing a lot at the moment because there's so much content. I would actually go ahead and say this is going to be potentially one of ARK's biggest and kind of craziest years ever, because when you think about past years with releases, you never see Wildcard cramming in as much, like on a month-by-month basis of content. It's kind of scary because everyone gets worried about what's going to break next with the game. But yeah, these next few months, all the way up until at least August, is going to be unreal. So if you guys enjoy the video, drop a like and subscribe, and let's get in with the video. Also, some upcoming LoadedCrysis cluster ARK server changes. We are moving to the CyberStructures mod. This is obviously a quality of life mod. It's a very big one, full of so much stuff. We're doing this because this mod is, constantly updated, loads of new stuff that's getting added with it, and we think it's going to be the best mod to take us forward for our servers. If this is something you're interested in and you like the CS mod, come and join us. Our link to our Discord is always down below to our free LoadedCrysis servers. Of course, Genesis Part 1 is going to be there. We have every single server possible for you guys. We have PvP and PvE. Come and join with your tribe, or come and meet your brand new tribe. The link to our Discord is down below. Okay, so Studio Wildcard spoke with us at GDC 2026 about upgrading ARK Survival Ascended to Unreal Engine 5.7, introducing a new in-game world creator. Is that Lua, by the way? How do you pronounce that? I don't even know. Scripting and Blueprint API, and expanding the game with new content. So since its original launch in 2015, ARK Survival Evolved has grown into one of the most recognizable survival sandboxes on the market, combining large-scale multiplayer systems with dinosaur taming, base building, and sprawling open worlds. In its modern reimagining, ARK Survival Ascended, rebuilt in the experience of Unreal Engine 5, introducing upgraded visuals, improved systems, and full cross-platform mod support. As the live service continues to evolve, Studio Wildcard is pushing forward with new maps, technical upgrades, ambitious tools designed to expand both player experience and the creative possibilities for the community, and more bugs. No, sorry, Jeremy. In our conversation at GDC 2026 with Jeremy, the co-founder, co-creative director, and lead designer, we discussed several major updates coming to ARK Survival Ascended, including the upcoming Tides of the Fortune expansion, a new world creator tool that brings in-game level editing with and Lua scripting. This is not my side of the field, guys, on PC and consoles, and the technical challenges behind upgrading to the live game to Unreal Engine 5.7. Below is a transcript of the conversation with keynotes and insights from the interview. Let's get in with it. Alright, so what's new with Studio Wildcard? Jeremy, co-founder, goes on this week. We announced some details about where ARK Survival Ascended is going. We talked about the new map coming out in June, another one in December, and the world creator, which will probably be extremely interesting. Today, I won't give you the marketing speak. I'll get into the nuts and bolts, and the reason is we have real nuts and bolts to talk about. Interesting wording. Plans are easy. Everybody has plans, but as Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. The same applies to games. One of the less exciting things is that we're upgrading Unreal Engine. What do you mean? That is it. That is exciting. We want performance, Wildcard, which is our live ARK game, to the latest version of Unreal Engine. It's not glamorous. Every game eventually has to do it. When you're working with a live service game, occasionally you have to take the entire project and migrate it forward. With Unreal Engine specifically, Epic releases these huge updates. You can cherry pick individual features, but that becomes risky when the engine changes significantly and features become tightly integrated. I can imagine that, to be fair. At that point, upgrading the entire engine becomes necessary if you want the latest improvements, especially for a game that's been running for multiple years. ASA has already been operating for 2.5 years, so it's time again. The cost is development time. You basically have to regression test the entire game and assume everything is broken, which Yeah, I mean, that's always the terrifying thing, right? We went through 5.5, it actually went smoother than we originally thought, but it's very terrifying, especially if you are in the LoadedCrysis cluster or you run your own cluster or whatever. You know how terrifying it is, because you just don't know what's going to break next. Makes sense. I'm sure oftentimes a lot of things are really broken. Jeremy goes on to say, exactly, but what players get in return is improved performance. We're moving from Unreal Engine 5.5 to 5.7, which includes a lot of major performance improvements. Rendering thread optimizations are part of it, but the biggest improvement is virtualized culling of Nanite meshes. Previously, Nanite worked like this. If the mesh was in the scene, it rendered. Even if it was barely visible, there was still overhead. Now Epic has introduced a system that breaks Nanite meshes into voxels. Depending on which voxels are visible, the engine can compute far less of the mesh, and that's especially beneficial in the scenes with lots of overlapping meshes. It's essentially a much more efficient way of determining what the engine doesn't need to process. For example, we have tested heavily forested and jungle scenes with lots of overlapping meshes and saw massive improvements. There's basically no accuracy cost, it's a pure performance win, and honestly, it probably should have been there from day one. So this, by the way, let's talk about this. This is massive, right? Because whenever someone's done a test of Ark Survival Ascended, Ark Survival Evolved, what happens when you run into a forest in Ark Survival Evolved or a jungle? You lag, don't you? That's when frame gets dodgy. There's loads of different things that cause that in Ark Survival Evolved. Massive bases, massive things the game needs to load in. That's one of the things that, you would, if you play on a cluster, if you play on the LoadedCrysis cluster, you will notice there's huge bases that we tried to keep in a leash, so you get a lot of space still. You can still build a giant castle if you want to, but then obviously loading that in straight away causes a lot of issues at the start. That's been the Ark issue ever since Evolved. This has been going on for years, but the jungle is a big performance problem, and they're saying that this is going to not fix it, but they're saying they've seen a huge performance win there. What can you tell me about new content updates coming? Jeremy, in June we're releasing an expansion called Tides of the Fortune. It's actually a gameplay layer on top of a free map. Typically we release about one free map per year and one premium map per year. This year's free map is Genesis Part 1, which originally appeared in Ark Survival Evolved. In Ark Survival Ascended, we're fully remastering with new art, lighting and improved level design. The new gameplay layer introduced larger scale ocean gameplay. Genesis originally had a water region, but it was small. Now we're expanding it dramatically, like miles of open water. Players who purchase the gameplay layer will gain access to large physical ships. You can mount cannons, attach modules, and even transport dinosaurs on them. Everyone will also get improved ocean physics, Beyonce systems, buoyancy physics, and large-scale rendering challenges. So yes, that is very good. I was glad that imagine Studio Wildcard said to you, to be able to enjoy the new ocean physics as part of the game, you must purchase this. No, so it sounds like, like how it's worked in the past. It's more of like the items, the structures, that kind of thing that you don't get as part of you don't purchase Tides of the Fortune. But the actual Genesis Part 1 upgrade, the remastered map, is going to be free. So anyway, you mentioned the world creator. Can you talk a bit about that? So Jeremy says, so Ark has supported modding since 2015. With Ark Survival Ascended, players can download a full development kit based on the Unreal Engine editor and create mods. What's unusual about Ark is that mods work cross-platform. Mods can run on PC, Xbox and PlayStation with the same functionality, and players can create entirely new assets, blueprints and gameplay systems, but the downside is the accessibility to the tools. So to use the dev kit properly, you need to have a professional level PC. The dev kit itself requires around 1 terabyte of storage, and realistically, you need 32 to 64 gigabytes of RAM to work comfortably. Because of that, only about 1 to 2% of our player base can realistically develop mods. But we believe over 50% of players would be interested in creating content if it were easier. So World Creator is our solution. It's essentially a level editor, but directly built into the game. wait, so even on consoles? And Jeremy says, yes, it runs on Xbox and PlayStation. Right now, it requires a mouse and keyboard, even on console, because the interface is designed to mimic the Unreal editor. But I mean, to be honest, I think keyboard and mouse is always going to be easier there, right? I feel like controller would be insanely hard to build a map. I'm sure the community would be able to do it, but I understand that. So it provides access to the full asset library of the game, particle systems, meshes, skeletal assets, and more. Users can modify actors, edit properties, and save templates just like they would in Unreal. You can modify existing levels or build entirely new ones, and the really interesting part is scripting. Without scripting, you can create a level, but it doesn't actually do anything. We couldn't embed Unreal's blueprint editor in the runtime version of the game, so instead we implemented the Lua scripting system. Players can write Lua scripts that respond to actors' events like ticks, collisions, and spawning, destruction, and more, and those scripts can call any blueprint function in the game through the Blueprint API that gives the system incredible flexibility. Anything you could normally do in Blueprint can technically be done with Lua in our world creator, and it's just written as text instead of nodes. And of course, it's slower because Lua is interpreted, but it's more fast enough for gameplay triggers, traps, objectives, or custom game modes. It's sounding pretty exciting, isn't it, this world creator? But with the world creator, especially on consoles, players won't be able to import or create new assets, right? And correct for now. But another major feature is that user-created worlds can use existing mods, any of them. So if someone creates a world and wants to use different art assets, they can include mods in their world configuration. When another player installs that world, the game automatically checks which mods are required and prompts the player to install them. It basically works the same workflow as joining a modded server. Okay. So what else is on the horizon for ARK Survival Ascended? So Jeremy says, looking ahead, we have a dragon-themed expansion planned for the end of 2026. Dragons will behave differently from traditional ARK creatures. Instead of simple tame mechanics, they'll have a bonding system. The bond increases or decreases depending on how the player treats the dragon. Each species have different preferences, so players will have to learn how to care for them properly. Sounds more technical, and that's something that ARK needs. We're also given dragons more independent AI behaviors. The map itself will feature floating sky islands inspired a bit from Skies of Arcadia. There we go. So that looks like that interview was conducted by David, and that was the full interview for ARK Survival Ascended. So I did do a video breaking down everything that is coming with the game this year. It's a very interesting one because at the end of this month we have, did they show? Yeah, we have the Acrocanthosaurus, which is launching on the 31st of March. We then have this Unreal Engine 5.7, which is launching in April. We then have World Creator launching in May. We then have Genesis Part 1 launching in June. We then have the Astraeus Mega Update, which is instead of calling it Mega Update, Astraeus Final Update, which is going to make the map 100% complete. Survival of the Fittest is launching some point very soon as well. There was a logo that came out from that. Wasn't sure what I thought of the logo. I'm hoping it wasn't the finished one. It looked really dull, but that was that. And then we have a little bit of a break where we kind of don't know what's happening, and that then brings us up to December, which is where we get the Dragantopia map, which is going to be super exciting. So yes, anyway guys, I will chat to you guys in my next video. If you want to come and join us for the launch tonight of CyberStructures on the LoadedCrysis cluster, the link to our Discord is down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.